Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. So just looking through in the chat already, we've got Chris from Toowoomba. Welcome to you. And Blonde Scales 1 coming all the way from Arkansas. Welcome to you as well. I'll just leave a minute or two for other people to give them a chance to join. Just going to quickly, I thought I'd fixed this. I'm just going to quickly change my preview screen on my other screen because I can't see anything. There we go, that's a little bit better. I can now see my list of participants. Not that it updates very often, it seems to be a bit weird on the way that it works with Safari. So it's been a nice warming weather week this week here in Perth. On, I think it was Wednesday, we had our first really decent weather day. We had 33 Celsius, that's about 92 Fahrenheit. So it was nice to feel a little bit of warmth for a change. It seems to have been a really long, cold winter. So yeah, now spring here, loving it. I've even been so brave today. I've got shorts on. First time I've had shorts on since, about 4 months when it started to go cold. So yeah, nice to do that. Welcome BJ, welcome to you. Been a bit of a interesting week for me this week. So as most of you know, or many of you may know, I have an iOS and Mac app that I've written for managing my fountain pen collection, and I've got that up for sale up on the Apple App Stores. On Wednesday, no, what day was it? Thursday, I think it was. I released the latest version of the app. So the latest version needs iPadOS 17, iOS 17, or macOS Sonoma. So that went out on Thursday, and I've now started working on the changes for the next one. Biggest thing I'm looking at with the next version is I want to tweak the user interface because the one that's there feels a bit clunky at times, so I'm trying to improve that. And what I might do, maybe next week after I've had time to spend a bit more time with it, I might do a quick demo next week of where I'm going. Chris Robinson's Safari is weird. Yeah, it is. It's still my preferred web browser. Obviously, I use Mac. I find I'm not overly interested in Chrome. That seems to have too many privacy issues. And I do have Firefox, but I don't use that very often. Miss Marilyn Darling, hi, welcome to you. Thank you for joining. And John over in New York, welcome to you. So what I thought I'd do today would do another What's in My Box video. So in the live chat, if someone can put left, hang on, say I don't know my left from my right, left or right. So that's left is this side, right is this side. And Miss Marilyn Darling saying welcome to saying hello to everyone. So I'm waiting for a left or a right. Okay, so good morning. So the first one, good morning to Tom Morley. Welcome. Thank you to joining. Thank you to joining us. Thank you for joining us. So Chris Robinson was the first with right. So we're going on the right-hand side. Right, now I need a number between 1 and 10. Someone other than Chris, please. Sorry, Blonde Scales 1. Chris just beat you by about 2 seconds. So a number between 1 and 10. And let's hope we pick a box that has got some pens in it. So Blonde Scales 1 has given us 9. Today's mug is the Mandalorian. So there's the Groku on there. So number 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, not a lot of pens in this one. Let's have a quick look at it anyway. So what I might do, we might actually do a second box because there aren't many in here. Let me switch over to the top-down view. So this box is labelled MISC, so miscellaneous pens. And in there, I've only got the 2 pens, the rest is empty. So let's take a look. What have we got here? The first one, this was a freebie pen. It's coming a little bit apart there. Let me just screw that back on there. So when I bought a bottle of Noodler's Heart of Darkness, which is here, shut up, Noodler's Heart of Darkness, my black ink of choice, really like this, nice dark black. I don't use black very often. It came with a free pen, so this was actually a freebie. This one is an eyedropper pen. So there we go, it just comes off easy. I've only filled it once, and I did fill it with that Heart of Darkness. It's a fine nib. Let's see if I can get that there. So yeah, only used it once, not for quite a while. So I'll just pop that back. The other one in here, this is an AliExpress wood grain. It's not wood, it's plastic. Again, this was a cheap pen. I think it was about $6. It was dirt cheap. It was one of those ones. I was ordering other stuff on AliExpress and it came up. So I thought, well, why not get it? So we've got... oh, no, it's not a cartridge. I thought this came with a cartridge converter. Obviously it doesn't. So I must have used one of my other ones. I have used the pen, but again, not for a long time. And there we've got that nib. So we'll stay on the right-hand side. If someone could pop into the chat another number between 1 and 10. Obviously not 9 because we've just done that. Oh. And not 10 because that's empty. So between 1 and 8. So Blonde Scales 1 there, giving us 9. Mikey, welcome Mikey from Minnesota. BJ, a nice green one. Yeah, I've got loads of green pens. I love green. Chaz Maynor, hi Garry, hi all, welcome Chaz, welcome, thanks for joining us. Miss Marilyn Darling, the Charlie pen, yeah, I haven't used it the once, I should use it a bit more often. Blonde Scales 1, I got a free one with my Noodler's Blue Ghost, and then we've got, the first number was number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we've got more pens this time. USA, so these are all pens from USA companies. So we've got a few more to look at here. So let me open this up. So we did have some other numbers. We had a 6, a 7 and a 1. So we'll start with the first pen. So this one, this is the Conklin All-American. This was a limited edition in Golden Walnut, I think it was called. Worst pen I've ever had. You may have heard many, many tales of woe about this. It's currently got a Jinhao nib on it. And then it's got the cartridge converter. One of the things I do like is the converter screw in and out. So it's a nice solidly seated converter. I have major issues with this pen with it drying out. Now you may have seen a couple of weeks ago somebody has sent me an All-American which is a resin version. No issues with that. I think the problem here is down to the cap. Although it looks like there's a plastic liner in there, hopefully I can get that. Let me fetch in something. I'm trying to remember to use this more often. I've got a little LED light, so hopefully we can get that light in there and see. Although it's got a liner, it only goes a little way down, and then it's got the exposed wood. And I think what the issue is the wood obviously allows airflow, and that dries out the nib too much. So that's the Conklin All-American. Next one we've got here is a pen I haven't used very often. Again, I should use it more often. This is it's a Cross Bailey Light. See, I labelled them on the front here just so I can remember what each pen is. So it's pull-off cap. This was a fairly, I can't remember exactly how much, about 50, 60 Aussie dollars, something like that. Fairly inexpensive. Again, we've got a converter in there. That one pulls in and out. I went for the grey colour with this because I thought, yeah, it looks a bit boring, but I don't have to worry about any ink with it. I can use any ink with grey. That's got a small nib. There we go, steel nibbed pen. The next one, let me go to the other case because it's already inked up. So next up, we've got the Monteverde Ritma. This is the olive green. I think it was a 2021 limited edition. Very nice. There we've got the nib on there. This is I believe it's a broad nib. This pen was actually recommended by one of my viewers, Paul. Really glad he did, because I actually quite like the pen. There we've got the converter in there. It's an all metal pen, so not an eyedropperable pen. Nice weight to it. I love the weight on this. It feels really, really comfy in the hand. It will posts actually quite nicely. And there's a little magnet in here which seems to grip onto the cap, which is quite nice. You get a really nice, let me see if I can, real nice snap there when it goes on. And then same, popping the cap on, that magnet, lovely snap. So it's a well-seated cap. Just pop that back away. Next up, from Retro 51, this is the, I believe it's the Abraham Lincoln. This is the Tornado. Beautiful copper colour here. There we go. What nib did I get on here? I think it's a medium. Oh no, it's a 1.1. So stub nibbed pen. Again, cartridge converter. Just pop that back in. This is one of the issues I have with this pen. The converter doesn't seem to go in for far enough for me. I would expect it to go in a little bit further, but that's all it goes in, and it's very, very loose. And like you saw there where I took the body off, it easily comes undone. So that's something that I think is just a bit of a shame. It could do with going in just that little bit further so it's better seated. It's a fairly thin pen to use, but it's nice. I like the copper. And this is a pen. I know it's only start of October. I've been starting planning the pens I'm going to use in December. And this is one of the ones I'm planning to use. Next up, Narwhal Nautilus. Well, this is actually what they call the 365 version. It was a limited edition, so there's 365 in this pattern. This is Brooks Blanks, and it's primary manipulation 3.5. Beautiful colour on this. Very, very nice. I've got on here, I've swapped the nib. I've got a broad Yoho nib on this. They just take number 6 size nibs, so very, very easy to swap in and out. This is the one I had an issue with the piston mechanism. I've now got that fixed, so that works perfectly well now. Not sure when I'll be next inking this up. Maybe January or February, something like that. Not planning on using it though for a while. Next to that, or normally next to that, I've got it out for a video I'm doing tomorrow, is another Narwhal Nautilus. Here we've got the Pelagia Noctiluca. So one of the first ones that was released. Beautiful colours, really nice vibrant colouring on this. Primarily it's like a dusty purple colour, but then we've got blues, we've got some nice reds in there. And on here, I think it was a medium nib. Could be a broad, but I think it was medium. Very nice pen. Just pop that back over there. We then go into my two. I'll fetch them both out. These are, again, they're Narwhal pens. These are the, what's the name of the pattern? Oh, Gary's brain's gone completely dead today. Let me just pull up my database and have a quick look. It's the beauty of having a database on hand. You can very quickly find out. So we're going to Narwhal pens. And it's the Key West. I knew I'd remember it. So I've got two of them. I've got the goldy colour, and that one is Islamorada. And I've got the purple one, and that one is Las Coloradas. The purple one is a limited edition one. Cost me a little bit more. Both of these are cartridge converters. There you go. You can see that cartridge converter fits in really well. One's got, I think one was a medium and one was a broad. Yeah, the Islamorada medium, then we've got a broad here in the Las Coloradas. Final two pens in this case, sticking with Narwhal. So these are the School Kill. So I've got two of them. Love these. Very nice pens. We've got a medium nib in both of them. And the patterns are Chromis Teal, which is this one. So beautiful colours there. Just checking the name of the second one. So Chromis Teal. Hopefully I got this in camera. And Porpita Navy. Again, beautiful pen there. I love the pattern on this Porpita Navy. Today it's really showing up really well in the light. I think this Porpita Navy, no, that's got the narwhal nib. And that's got a narwhal nib. The Porpita Navy, the narwhal nib on here isn't the nib that came with it. I think it's the nib that came on that 365 because I've swapped that for that broad Yoho nib. I got this with a flex nib because I wanted to try the flex, just couldn't get on with it. So I gave up on any attempt at flex writing and thought, no, let's just go back to a standard nib. I do want to get back to trying some flex writing, but I don't know, it's just not something that jumps out at me. So that was tray number 9. I'll just pop that one away and we'll switch back to the main camera. So we did trays 9 and tray 5 there. Right, let's go to the comments, see how we're getting on there. I haven't gone back to them for a second. Chasmina, I bought my Sherwood Green, your recommendation. It's divine. All Robin Hoodie and stuff. Glad you liked it, Chaz. I really do like Sherwood Green. I have told the story in a few of my videos, but I have actually been to Sherwood Forest, obviously many years ago because I now live here in Australia. And I've been to see, I think it's called the Major Oak, which is the oak tree where they reckon that Robin Hood and his men used to hide out at. Really, really good. Really interesting. When we used to drive up to visit my parents when we lived in the UK, we used to drive up the M1, but we used to drive through Sherwood Forest. You know, it's not as forestry as you think. There was a lot of open ground. Yeah, I remember that. You know, quite often seeing the Sherwood Forest sign, and every time we were going up there, I would go. Hopefully that comes over, which was a tune from an old, I think, was it the Errol Flynn Sherwood Forest? Sorry, Robin Hood. So my wife always knew when we got there. Chasmina, yeah. BJ, that wood conkling. Do you know, the worst thing about it, I absolutely love the way the pen looks. I love how the pen feels. It's just a shame. I think it's because of the wood, and no matter what I've done, I just cannot get it to work. Such a shame, because otherwise I actually love the pen. Chaz, I hate that pen. I got cheated. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people putting very similar things about it. All down, I think. Really do think it's down to the wood. P90 Camper, welcome, number 4. So we'll move on. Chaz, All-American Pretter, I think. BJ, Sherwood Green is a sheen if you lay it down thick on nice paper. I didn't realise that, BJ. I will give that a try. Chris Robinson, I threw a cheap AL Star copy. The cap didn't seal, so it was useless. The liner was split. Chalk $3.80 up to experience. I've been very lucky so far with most of my Chinese pens. Most of them have been fine, but yeah, I've heard a number of people saying, and I do keep looking at that AL Star copy, and I just think, nah, I can't. It's just not, doesn't grab me. Chaz, yes, BJ, you're right. Mrs. NTN, hi from Tennessee, welcome to you. Santa, welcome, good morning, everyone. Chaz, hi, Santa. Chaz, hi, Tennessee. BJ, that looks like the perfect pen for ancient copper. That is that's the Retro 51 Tornado. I say I'm planning on using it in December. December's theme are Inkvent inks, but from the previous Inkvent calendars. And I'm planning on using a I think it was last year, Vintage Copper, which has got like a nice coppery shimmer as well. It's an easy pen to clean out, so I don't mind putting a shimmer ink in there. So yeah, looking at that one. Chasmina, yes, BJ, and then Chaz or Vermilion. Oh, that sounds nice. Vermilion, that's like a green, like that greeny colour, isn't it? When copper starts to, I'm going to say rust. It's not rust, but oxidise. That was the word I was looking for. BJ, I thought Retro 51 just made ballpoints. There aren't many fountain pens around, but they do them. One of the ones I looked at recently, I decided not to get it in the end, was they did War of the Roses, but it was the Lancashire, I think it was, model. So I looked at that and thought, nah, I think if they do the Red Rose, which is Yorkshire, I may look at that. But yeah, looked at it. But yeah, they do quite a few fountain pens. You do pay a bit more from there. Blonde Scales 1, love the sparkle purple. It is. The only downside I find with that Key West, they feel a little bit small and thin to me, which is a shame. Chasmina, Chas, is that, I'm not very good with emoji. Is that clapping emoji? BJ, if you want flex, get the Pilot Custom Heritage 912 and put an ebonite feed on it. That's actually worth trying. I've got the Pilot Custom Heritage 92. Very nice soft nib. So yeah, the 912, I've had my eye on that for a while. But obviously this year with my focus being on Australian pens, that's why I haven't gone ahead and got it. Chaz, BJ, someone cut down the Robin Hood tree. The major oak is still there, but it's supported now. Even when I went, there was like a framework built to support all the limbs. I saw a TikTok yesterday by, I think it was Alice Lotston. She'd recently visited and she was doing a little TikTok on it. John, how does the Narwhal Key West compare with a Bennu Talisman? Oh, that's an interesting question. Let me grab them. Key West. Let's grab that one. Just pop that over there. Down there. I'll sort all that out in a little bit. So here we are back down on the table. So I brought out the there we go, the Alamorada. So that's a sparkly, sandy coloured one. And here's my Bennu Talisman. This is Dragon's Blood. So I would say the Key West a lot sparklier. Obviously you can see, and they are brighter sparkles. You can imagine, I can see this. It's a shame they didn't call it sand, because that's what reminds me of is the sand on the beach. And the Dragon's Blood, I like the shape of the Dragon's Blood of the Talisman better. And the bling is where we've got the green part. It's more subtle. Then you get the wallop of the red. But then we've got this black background. So it doesn't seem to be as sparkly. Or certainly to me. Mrs. Intien, I have 3 Retro 51 fountain pens and all don't latch onto the converters to where they stay on. So yeah, it must just be something with a model. It doesn't bother me because, well, it does bother me, but because I know what it is, I understand it, so I don't feel as bad. You may like the Pilot FA for flex. Yeah, I was listening to the Penboy Roy podcast this morning, and they were talking about, I think that was the 912 FA. So yeah, that, I say it's something, it'll be next year's purchases. Just depends what though my focus will be next year. Chasmina, bright orange and red, vermilion, methinks. Yeah, I'm rubbish with colour names. Let me see. Is there something on Mr. Google? What's vermilion? Vermilion. Just typing over on my iPad. Vermilion, a brilliant red pigment. I didn't realise. I don't know why. Oh, maybe I was thinking verdigris. Is it verdigris, the green that you get from copper? So bright red. Yeah, bright red would be nice in that as well. BJ, no, a 16-year-old cut the Robin Hood tree down with a chainsaw. Yeah, BJ, definitely did not happen. The tree is about 4 meters wide. You wouldn't get through it with a chainsaw. There are loads of other trees, so it could be another tree around there, but definitely not the major oak. The major oak definitely still there. Okay, that's going through the comments. Let's swap on over and look at this week's pens. We'll go back to the phone. There we go, the overhead camera. Got to shift myself over. So what were the pens that I've been using this week? So Sunday last week was the Marjon M800. And in here I had Diamine Ochre. Not sure if this will write. It ran out of ink this morning. Yeah, so that's not going to write. As you can see, we're out of ink. I haven't refilled this. I'm not going to refill it. What I am going to do, and I'll do the writing with it now, is I've brought in another one of my Marjon M800s. Here we go. This is the green version. Had problems with this morning. I had a goulet nib on here, broad. It wouldn't write when I put the ink in this morning. But when I looked on the tines, there were a massive gap. So I've quickly swapped it out for another goulet nib. So we've got here a Marjon M800. This has got a broad Yoho nib on it. Price wise, we're looking at $45 Aussie dollars for the pen. Because I've changed the nib is extra. The ink is by Robert Oster. And it's Australis T. This is a sample. I'm glad it's only a sample because it's the first time I've used it. Way, 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 way too light for me. I mean, I'll use it up because I've filled this pen this morning. You can see there. But once this is gone, I don't think I'll use this ink again. Just not enjoying it. On Monday's pen was the Just Turnings Mimas. This is in their new material, black copper. So they actually make the material themselves. It's not just one they've bought in. Beautiful pen. Cartridge converter. There we go. Possibly you could eyedropper it. I don't intend to. I just will use the converter. Beautiful pen to hold. Really nice. Yoho nib on here. This is a broad Yoho nib. So we've got the Just Turnings. No, it's a medium, should I say. Just Turnings. And it's a Mimas. Mimas is the range where it's his own blanks. So it's a medium Yoho nib. Cost-wise, not a cheap pen. $170. I've got to be honest, worth every penny. The ink is by Robert Oster. And it's terracotta. Nice match there for the colouring. I did think about using Diamine Ancient Copper in here, but because it was the first fill of this pen, I wanted to use an Australian ink. Australian pen, Australian ink. If we go now to Tuesday's pen. Tuesday's pen is by Wingsung, and it's a Wingsung 698 piston filling pen. This one is a 14 karat gold nib. Loads of that nib creep there. Somebody suggested doing a video about nib creep, so I will actually look at that. Might not be till next year though. Shortish filling pen, doesn't post at all, and this nib is very, very sensitive. So I've got a Wingsung 698. Writes really well, nice feedback. It's a fine nib. Price wise, it's $81 because it's got that gold nib. The ink is by Diamine. I'm going to press a bit harder here, and it's Mon, and this is what I was saying about being sensitive. Bit more pressure and it starts getting ink flow issues. And then we'll go straight back. And it's Mon Bordeaux's hat. I have to be careful with this one. I keep getting my D's and my B's mixed up in here. It is nice though. It's a purple ink. Very nice ink. But the pen, it's nice. It's enjoyable. Just need to be careful when I'm writing with it. Next up, no, not that one. I jumped ahead a day. We've got the Jinhao X159. This is in the dark blue. Love the feel of this pen. Nice chunky pen. If you've got big hands, it's really nice. So we've got here a Jinhao X159. This is with a fine nib. Although I do think it's a nice line for a fine nib. Price-wise, we've got a massive price difference from the previous couple. 12 Aussie dollars. I mean, I've got to be honest, 12 Aussie dollars. I think very, very good value for this. The ink is by Lamy. And it's part of the Crystal series. And it's Azurite. So this is another one, purple ink. Looks very dark though, and I've found, to my eye, most of the time it actually looks quite blue. Next pen we won't write with. This was from Thursday. It's out of ink. I mean, I could try and write with it, but I don't think there's any ink. Nah. This is the Picasso Pimeo 916. I love this hint of red that we get in this. This is one of the things which really attracts me to this pen. It's a very, very thin pen. It's a very, very small pen. Posts, but I don't know, it feels clumsy. A small nib. I like the fact we've got that black nib, so it's got black going all the way through. This one is now empty. I need to clean it out still. I'll be doing hopefully a pen cleaning session tomorrow or the day after. Enjoyable, but it's very small. I find it quite painful to use because it's so small. So I'm just going to pop that away in my pot for cleaning. Next up, we've got, which one is this? This is a Hongdian. It's 1841. So when that Picasso Pimeo ran out, this is the pen I brought in to replace it. Nice black pen, nice classic looking pen. Nice size. Here we've got the nib. The nib is, it's a medium nib on this. Again, we've got a cartridge converter in there. Still feels a bit on the thin side, but it's not unusably thin. It's quite nice to write with. So we've got here a Hongdian 1841 with a medium nib. Let me just check because it was one I brought in, so I don't actually have the price on me. On AliExpress, I've found these now going for 42 Aussie dollars. The ink by Diamine, and it's soft mint. Beautiful coloured ink. This is an ink, I don't know why, a lot of my pens when I've used it, it looks more greener, whereas here in this pen, it's got a bit more of that blue tinge to it. Really liking the look of this ink in this pen. Next up, from Friday, we've got the Kaigaloo 316A, a pen I don't use often enough. This is very similar in styling to the Jinhao 100 Centennial and the Moonman M600S. So it's part of those like duofold inspired pens. I love that the material goes all the way through. And there's the converter. Slightly transparent section, which I like. So although you can't really see the levels, you can see that you've got that converter in there. Very nice, comfortable pen to write with. I love this style of pen. So this is the Kaigaloo 316A. It's got a medium nib. It's a very, very generous medium nib. $35 for this pen. This is why I don't have too many of these Kaigaloos, because the Jinhao 100 are generally about $10 cheaper. And being the type of person that I am, I go for the cheaper pen, although I do still enjoy these. The ink, I changed the ink in here. It's now got Robert Oster. And it's light green. Another one, very nice combo, the way the colours work together. And then yesterday's pen, so the final pen, is by Pen BBS, and this is the 487. A pen with a long and checkered history. The pattern is called Corderite. Love the pattern on it. The nib on here, although it's a fine nib, it's a beautiful writing nib, a nice generous nib. Why I bought this is the filling mechanism, so it's that magnetic filling mechanism. I know I keep telling this story. It just don't work, which is such a shame, because that's what spoils an otherwise nearly perfect pen. So we've got here a Pen BBS 487 with a fine nib, and this was 54 Aussie dollars. The ink is Pilot Hiroshizuku Momiji. Slightly pink ink, nice ink, really like writing with it. And in this pen, normally I used to use blue inks only in here, but I put this in as an experiment, really liking it. So that was the Pen BBS 487. So we swap on over again. So they were the pens that I've been using this week. Right, let's go back to the comments. Oh, sorry, I keep wiping my nose. My throat's starting to go already. The 16-year-old was released. They got an older man in custody. Chris, it was from Hadrian's Wall tree that was cut down. BJ, it was on the BBC. Chris, it was a sycamore. BJ and Wikipedia. Chris, different tree. Chasmina, Shakespeare was working on a 5-act play on Robin Hood. There's extracts, snippets found in the 90s maybe. Gosh, how talented. Yeah, that would have been quite interesting to see Shakespeare's turn on it. I haven't seen many Shakespeare stuff, I will be honest. I think the only one I can definitely say, I'm going back, I was either 14 or 15 years old, so more than 2 years ago. And we went to like a local higher education college where they did a drama course, and we watched A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's the only one I can remember seeing. What was quite interesting, where I worked in London, it was a 5-minute walk to what's the name of the theatre? Anyway, it was a 5-minute walk to Shakespeare's theatre, the Globe, that's it. I think it's the Globe. And I used to go and sit outside it and have my lunch, or, go and see it and then go and sit on the riverbank and have my lunch. Never actually been there to see a play. BJ, I thought he was talking about the Hadrian's Wall tree. They call it the Robin Hood tree. I didn't realise that. Oh. John, how do you replace the nib on the non-Bock M800? Does the housing twist out, or do you have to pull it out? Let me get one. This is one of my other M800s. We'll go back over to the overhead camera because it's easier to show. So this one, it's the Bock one, but it's all the same. So what I do is I just pull it out. I didn't have that on camera. 1 second. Oh, let me get it back in. So here we are, now we've got it on camera. There we go. So all I do, I just gently finger and bottom with my thumb and pull it out. That's how easy it is. And then it goes together, and the key thing is you've got to remember on here one side is flat, so you've got to get that right. That one wasn't right. There we go, and it just goes back in. I know it's not exactly lined up properly. Let me line that up properly, then I can put it away. So it just slots back in. Nice, easy one to do. Just pop this back together. We'll go back to the main camera. Okay. Ricardo, welcome to you. Good morning. BJ, I wish Robert Oster inks were easier to get in the US. I'm not sure. Is it Van Ness that sells them? I've never bought any from the US, so I can't 100% say about that. My poor throat's getting a bit sore today. P90 camera. I have a few 316As. I think they're lovely and great value. They are brilliant value at $35. I say the only reason I go for the 100s, it's $10 cheaper. I need to get some more 316As though, because they are very pretty. Chris, Van Diemen's ink is also great. Absolutely. I've only got 4. I've got Apple Island Green, which is obviously gorgeous green. I normally use that in my Pilot Custom Heritage 92. I've got Azure Kingfisher, which is blue with a gorgeous shimmer in it. Don't use that in mini pens, obviously, because of that. I've got, it's like a purpley colour. I can't remember what it's part of the Midnight series, I think. Then I've also got a black. Again, don't use that very often. Chaz, good one. Chaz, the globe built by an American Sam Wanamaker. Yeah, I'd say it just amazed me. I used to work not far from it, and never been to see one of their plays. P90 camper. My favourite pen BBS is the 456. Don't seem to be making them. Yeah, I've gone off pen BBS at the moment. Mainly, I think because of the lack of nib choice. I maybe need to get some more. I think the last one I got was a 380. It might be a 380. It was an aluminium one anyway. P90 camera, 2 years, you and me both. Blonde Scales 1. I've got some Robert Oster samples from Vanessa. Yeah, I thought it was Vanessa that remembered. Beauty about being here in Australia, it's there is loads of Robert Oster inks around. There was most of the ones I've got are samples. I've only actually got 4 full bottles of Robert Oster ink, but Pulp Addiction over in Melbourne, they do. I think it was Pulp Addiction that do the samples, and that's where I get them from. Nice way to try out different colours and then realise which ones you do and which ones you don't like. One thing I'm going to shout out, a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about the ink misers, in the comments afterwards, Miss Marilyn Darling did comment about putting it on some kind of plate or something, so that if you did have an accidental spillage, you wouldn't end up with it going all over, and you could actually then suck it out. And so I got this from a local cheapo shop. I think it was about $2, and that just fits in really nicely in the bottom. There we go. And so that's now what I'm using. Since getting this ink miser, I'm using a lot more samples because it's now easier to fill. So I just want to give a shout out to Miss Marilyn Darling for that idea. Thank you. Other things that have happened this week, I've had a Chinese pen arrive. I've got this one here. This is the Jinhao 9019. Another big nibbed, number 8 size nib there. Going to be filming the first impressions for this sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Got a couple of pens to do first impressions on, so I'm just trying to get them scheduled to do on one day. So looking forward to trying that one out. What have I been reading this month? This week. So carrying on as I've been for the past few weeks with The Pillars of Creation by Terry Goodkind. I've got about 75 pages left to go. And one of the things that I'm finding, and I found this with a lot of Terry Goodkind books, he's very, very descriptive. Really enjoy it. I'm not saying I don't enjoy the books, I do. But I mean, in this particular book, he spent 3 chapters talking about one of the characters walking through a swamp. When they got to the end, he did 2 chapters with them talking to the person they went there to meet, and then another 2 chapters of them walking out of the swamp. I mean, there was 5 chapters there, which could have been condensed maybe into 2, one going in, one coming out. Makes it very, very long-winded. Very nice. I mean, really descriptive, and I love it because I get right into the scene and I can see what's happening. I can feel what's happening. But, yeah, long-winded. And the other thing I find with his books is the first, 7/8, near enough, or 3/4, 7/8, are all build up, build up, build up, build up. Then all the action happens in the last 3 or 4 chapters. That's where I'm up to at the moment, is the action is just starting. So that's something I find not frustrating, but it just seems to be a pattern that I'm getting with these books. So I've got another day or two of reading there. Then I'll be moving back to my Terry Pratchett reader, and it's Pyramids is the next book up. So looking forward to getting in. This is one of the longer ones. It's got how many pages? To the back. 380 pages. So one of his longer ones that I've read so far. But I love Terry Pratchett. I love him doing this. Back to the comments. So P90 Camper, Vanessa's Robert Oster. Blonde Scales 1. I like that Vanessa samples a 4mm while Goulet has 2mm. Yeah, I do think you're right there. I think having 4mm it gives you more chance because you can get into more pens to try and play around with it. Hey there, Simply Orbs. P90 Camper, do I have any Gravitas pens? No, not at the moment, I don't. So this year, my pen purchases have been focused on Australian makers. So I've bought a number of pens that are made here in Australia. I'm just starting to think about next year. So what I try to do is like theme my main purchases for a whole year around one particular thing. Next year, I'm in two minds. I'm either going to be looking at pens that are made by American or Canadian makers. So things like I'm thinking like London Pen Co. Is it Edison? You know, some of the smaller makers in America and Canada. Or I'm also toying with maybe doing pens that are made in Britain and Ireland, and that's where I would be looking at Gravitas. There's a couple of other British makers that I've seen. Can't remember them off the top of my head, but I do like the look of the Gravitas pens. It's just my focus hasn't been on that so far. Mrs. NTN, have you tried KWZ or Tasha? I've had one Tasha ink that was a sample, and that was Utamari something or other. It was like a very dark grey, nearly black. And sorry, my throat is going. One of the things I found with it, because it was a sample and because of the colour, I didn't get into an actual pen for about 2 years. And I think there'd been a lot of evaporation. So it really performed really badly. I think it was just there'd been a lot of evaporation. So the ink ended up being, for a better way of putting it, too thick. So that's the only Tasha. I haven't tried any KWZ inks yet. I'm just checking in my to buys. I do have one in my to buy list, which I must have seen on some video somewhere, which is Menthol Green. Maybe it was the name Menthol that attracted it to me. So that's one I would like to try, but just haven't been able to do that. And at the moment, I'm on an ink buying freeze. I've still got about 20 or 30 samples to get through because, as I said, they've been collecting for a long time. So until I've got through some samples and started reducing the number of bottles, I'm not planning on buying any ink unless there's something special. Inkvent inks, I'm still going to be doing them, so don't worry about that. But yeah, not planning on any full bottles. BJ, I would love to try the KWZ Honey. Yeah, I think that's another one I've seen, but I'm not overly into the yellowy colours. But yeah, certainly worth trying. Chaz, have you a Ranga pen? I bought that, Abimayu. So I do have 2 Rangas. I've got one inked up. So I'll just show you the inked up one. This one is the Santa model. So it came out in December last year. Was only available for a limited time. If they do them again this year, I obviously won't buy another one because I've got one. Well worth getting. Nice pen. So I actually got this with a 1.1 Yoho stub. And loads of threads. So this one does come with a cartridge converter. Again, it is possible to eyedropper it. I choose not to. Very nice pen. And I've also got a Ranga Model 5, or as I call it, the big boy. Big pen, massive pen. Very nice pen, they're really enjoyable. I find, especially when my fingers and hands are aching a bit, it's a perfect pen to use because it's just so big. Ricardo, got mine a couple of weeks ago, a Jinhao X159 and a pack of nibs for it, from extra fine to medium. The medium nibs very smooth. I need to try and get some more Jinhao nibs. Again, I've been lucky. All my Jinhao pens, the nibs, really, really nice. Mrs. NTN, got you on the freeze. Yeah, if the wife thought I'd bought a bottle of ink, I think that would be, that'd be out the door, Garry. TJ, hey, welcome to the chat. Chaz, nice. P90, Tasha Golden Wheat is fantastic. Great match for the Amber 823. I will make a note of that. In my database, I do keep a list of inks that I want to buy. So I will have a look at that one and then get that added in. Golden Wheat ink. So what's been happening video-wise? So last week's videos. So we've already seen the Mimas. That was the video on Sunday last week. Beautiful pen. That was my first impressions of that. Tuesday, that was my wrap-up for the month of September. So there I ranked the pens. Really got a little bit surprised with my ranking this month because the pen at the start of the month I thought would be number 1. Wasn't, which was quite a surprise. Friday, that was the launch of my pens in use for October. So these are all Chinese pens. You've seen most of them today because I've been using them for the last 10 days since I actually recorded that video. I record my videos a little bit in advance. So as soon as I've recorded it, I do actually start using the pens. And yesterday's Tricky Little Questions was a photo quiz. I love doing the quiz videos. Videos coming up this month, or this week, should I say. This afternoon is the top 5 pens and why. So I was asked a question on Instagram about what are my top 5 pens and why. Now, I think I actually put one out in January, but I thought, well, I'll update that. So what I did is the video this afternoon, my top 5 pens under 100 Aussie dollars. There's going to be a follow-up video, top 5 pens over 100 Aussie dollars. That'll be out next Sunday. Tuesday was an interesting one. So Tuesday I do a showdown between the Sailor Pro Gear Slim and the D-Like New Moon 2. Two very, very different price points. But when I look at it, I will be honest, I do think the New Moon 2 is inspired by that Sailor Pro Gear line. Then Friday, we'll have my Inca comparison for October. Interesting comparison this time. I went for brown inks. Really enjoyed filming that one as well because it was brown inks. I quite enjoy my brown inks. And then next Saturday on Tricky Little Questions. This one was quite interesting. It was based off one of my quiz questions. And the question was, why is Mercury the closest planet to Earth? Bit counterintuitive, isn't it, when you think about it, because we know that the order of the planets, it goes Mercury, Venus, Earth. But Mercury and Earth are closer than Mercury and Venus. And the video explains it. Really interesting. Loads of maths involved. I do not have the maths in there. There was loads of maths involved, and I obviously continue to research on that, and I went through all the maths in the research. But my Tricky Little Questions ones, the idea is they're meant to be short ones, short videos that give the information, don't bamboozle you with the science. So that's next Saturday's video. Sorry, I've finished my tea. I've had to swap to my juice. So now that warm weather's here, I have one of these each day. So it's like 3/4 full of ice and then some cordial and water then to top it up. That's my allowance of water for the day then. So let's go back to the comments. KWC is close to a light medium brown from what I've seen. Really found that I enjoy the brown. So I will make a note of that too. KWC honey. I do quite like brown inks. Tobacco Sunburst is one of my favourite by Diamine. Also like Robert Oster Cafe Crema. Blonde Scales 1, already plotting my birthday purchases for October. Yeah, I think I seem to, certainly for my more expensive pens, I have to plan them well in advance so I can drop little subtle hints to the wife. TG, seems everyone has an E95S in their top 5. I sure do. I can't remember if it was in the top 5 or not. I can't remember because I filmed it quite a while ago. I'm sure if it isn't in there, I'd be shocked. Blonde Scales 1, no E95S here. I will be honest, I do like the E95S. It's such a small pen, but really, once you've posted it, beautiful writer. BJ, my birthday this month. I'm getting a Pilot 823 in amber and a fine nib. Again, I love my 823, my most expensive pen. And it's a pen I've virtually got inked up all the time. So here we go. Yeah, I've got Diamine Tobacco Sunburst in there at the moment. Happy early birthday. That's a great choice. Yep, that certainly is. Yay, another October birthday. BJ, now that's a water bottle. It is. I've used bottles like this for quite a while because I find that, I think it's, I can't remember if it was either 1 or 2 litres. But it's the right amount of water for me. If I drink this during the day, over the course of the whole day, I know that I'm not dehydrated, but I know I'm also not overly hydrated. TJ, no way, I just ordered one. I love Vac fillers, and it's kind of my grail pen as of now. Yeah, it was, still is really great, although I own it. Beautiful pen to use. I filled it the other day with Tobacco Sunburst. So nice. Such a nice writer, very responsive, and I love seeing the ink just sloshing around in there. TG, that was about the 823. So that's everything I've got for today. I'll leave it just a couple more minutes if anybody else wants to pop anything in the chat. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you've had a little bit of fun today. I seem to have a load of mess to clear up. Hopefully the wife doesn't come in until I've cleaned it up, otherwise I'll get the stare. Why have you got all those pens out? What have you been doing? I thought you were only meant to be talking, not getting everything out and making a mess. That sort of lecture. We'll be meeting again next week. The week after, so just a bit of a pre-warning. 2 weeks from today, there will not be a live stream. But next week we'll be there as normal. So back to the comments. BJ, I've really moved to fine nibs the more I write. Used to be all about broads. I'm still with the broads. I used to prefer fine, but I love my broad nibs at the moment. Although I think I'm going to be experimenting with a number of mediums in my next purchases. Blonde Scales, have a great week all. BJ, fines and stubs. TJ, you have a good one, you all. Chaz, good night, everyone. Good night, Gary. And then Ricardo got an E95S last month and wasn't impressed with the medium nib. It stips on the upstroke. The number 5 medium nib on the Custom Heritage 91 is smoother. I don't have a 91. I've got a Custom Heritage 92 with a number 5 nib. And I will be honest, that number 5 nib on there, that's my favourite Pilot nib. Even though I love my 823, I love the nib on the Custom Heritage 92. Blonde Scales 1, no stream for my birthday. Yeah, unfortunately, I actually going in a couple of days before that for an operation. So, although I should be home, I don't want to push myself in case I'm feeling rough. Mikey777 would love to try Mont Blanc James Purdy single malt ink. Is it Kerry or Carrie from Pens in Tea? That's her favourite ink. BJ, getting the pens out, favourite pastime. It is, but as I say, it's the mess I end up making. BJ, thanks for bringing us all together. So that's the last of the comments. I'll leave the comments open for a couple of minutes. So thank you, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed today's broadcast, and I'll talk to you again soon.